benefits us in preventing genocide in the future. Because when we recognize genocides, we recognize certain patterns of atrocity as genocide. We're able then to predict and identify genocide better into the future. Furthermore, recognitions of genocide are the first step in accountability and justice mechanisms that help us fight against impunity, the very impunity that causes genocide in our current globalized world. So without genocide recognition, we are hampered in our ability to identify and prevent genocide in the future.
Sorry, how this kind of events can help such countries as Armenia to make other countries to face the genocide facts, to bring them into the field of discussion about genocide.
Well, yes, I think that the media has a big role to play. These sorts of events are incredibly important. As you see from the list of participants in this event, you're bringing together some of the most important world leaders in genocide prevention here in Armenia to focus their attention on a specific theme. This year the theme is technology and genocide prevention. But particular to the Armenian case, we're holding this global forum, which has been held before in Armenia, but this year we're holding it in Armenia when Armenia is facing threats from neighboring countries of a renewed genocide.
Can you say that this kind of forums can help to recognize the genocide worldwide?
Yes, so the Armenian genocide...
Yes, so, and if yes, how?
Well, the Armenian genocide has been recognized almost universally by all scholars of genocide. We cannot, because the Genocide Convention was signed in 1948, we cannot retroactively hold trials for the Armenian genocide now, and none of the perpetrators are living any longer. So we do not have a legal decision about the Armenian genocide as genocide, using that word, which was only coined in World War II. However, we have consensus in the international community that what happened to Armenians was a genocide. Holding the global forum simply brings together, some of the brightest minds in genocide studies and prevention who will say with a united voice that what happened to Armenians in World War I was in fact genocide. And so the more fora that are held like this, right, the more global awareness there is that there is no doubt about this case.
Is there any tool that can make the countries who are not using the word genocide, especially talking about Armenia, to make them to use this word in connection with Armenian genocide?
That's a very, very good question. So how do we...
Too, because you told that the international language, let's say, it is they are using this term because of the dates.
Right. Yes, I think that the most powerful tool that we have is diplomatic pressure. And there simply has not been enough diplomatic pressure on Turkey to recognize the genocide. And this, of course, has to do with Turkey's very important geostrategic position and the power that it wields in the world, particularly in NATO, as a member of NATO. But I think that the world is waking up to the consequences of allowing a state not to recognize a massive genocide committed not just against Armenians, but all religious minorities within the empire that predated that state. And particularly against Christians. I think the world is realizing that there are consequences to allowing a state to have impunity after such a crime. And one of those consequences is that the ideology that fueled the genocide is not fully rooted out and still enjoys respectability and some normalcy within the political and the social order. And so you have a situation where where the same ideology or the same ideological currents that drove the Armenian genocide are driving some of Turkey's foreign policy today, and particularly its allyship with neighboring Azerbaijan. This does not serve the Turkish people, the Azeri people, and certainly not the Armenian people. This is an ideology that doesn't serve anybody in the region, and it would be in the interests of Turkey and Azerbaijan as well as in the interests of Armenia and the Republic of Artsakh if this ideology were challenged, if impunity were challenged. It's only through that challenge that I think we can have lasting peace in this region. And so I'm hoping that, my answer would be that we need the international community, and particularly Turkey's strong allies in NATO and the EU, as well as the United States, to put strong pressure on Erdogan, on the Erdogan regime, to shift its course and engage much more honestly and much more genuinely and authentically in peace discussions with Armenia.
Sometimes, there's sometimes that there's a sense that the kind of countries that you mentioned using the genocide as a tool, not using diplomacy as a tool to force the country to recognize.
Yes, we do not want to weaponize the term genocide or politicize it. It will get weaponized. Denial is a weapon. Right? Not recognizing genocide is a weapon. The word genocide can be used as a weapon, but it is not in this case necessarily so. The word genocide is a forensic term for a specific type of crime. And what happened to Armenians in World War I, as well as other Christian communities, was genocide. So that's a fact pattern, right? So there's really no question of that. I think it is a mistake for any state to weaponize the term genocide, because it reduces, right, then that state's standing and its legitimacy in making claims. However, it's a thin line that separates weaponization from recognition, from pushing for recognition. Because what does genocide do? Genocide deprives people of history. Genocide deprives people of culture, of identity, of land, of wealth, of population, of demographics. There are long-term transgenerational harms that exist, and those need to be addressed. Empty recognitions are of not much value. Why recognition is important is it's the first stage of a larger discussion about repair. How do countries repair the harm that was done in the present? So Germany had to do that. And it did that because of pressure, because of international pressure. And it has not suffered as a consequence of recognizing genocide. In fact, Germany is one of the strongest democracies in the world. It's one of the strongest states in the world. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that it was forced to recognize the Holocaust against European Jews in World War II. It has incorporated that into its educational system and into its ethos, right? Its social and political ethos. And, this willingness to take on the burden of history and to try and right the wrongs of history strengthens states rather than weakens them. So demanding not reparations, although that often is part of it, right? But demanding recognition is itself a legitimate act, right? And although it's often seen as divisive, I think demands for recognition can be our most powerful tool for peace long term.
And my last question. there is an important issue in the context of genocide prevention. Armenia warns that the president of Azerbaijan is preparing a new genocide of Armenians of Nagorno-Karabakh. There are many evidences of execution, torture of Armenian prisoners of war. What the international community can do to prevent this new genocide?
That's a very good point. The international community can do a lot more than it has already done to prevent a new genocide. This is a genocide that can be prevented, like at the beginning of the Bosnian War or the beginning of the 1994 genocide against the Tutsis. We have ample evidence of genocidal intent before the fact. So taking action now will, I believe, stave off another genocide against Armenians, or at the very least the threat is extreme enough that these actions must be taken. Otherwise, all of our slogans of never again ring hollow, right? The international community, first and foremost, needs to put pressure on Turkey and Azerbaijan so that Turkey and Azerbaijan know that they are not working in a space of impunity. The international community has to make it clear that any attacks, genocidal attacks on Armenian life, whether in Artsakh or in the Republic of Armenia or in the diaspora, will be responded to with strength. That there will be consequences, severe consequences for acts against Armenians. This can all be done diplomatically. It needs, however, a coordinated effort. Furthermore, all of these war crimes that we have seen, these atrocity crimes that have been committed in 2020 and again in September 2022, need to be tried in international courts as high crimes. So we need to pursue accountability for those crimes. I think that the international community could pursue sanctions, right? Could entertain the idea of sanctions against Azerbaijan. I think some of the most important states who are working with Azerbaijan could certainly threaten to pull their economic and military aid to Azerbaijan. I hope that the major powers of the world will take this very seriously and pursue everything that is in their diplomatic toolbox to make it clear to Turkey and Azerbaijan that they must pull back from this brinksmanship and from this genocidal language that they are using to terrorize Armenians and potentially to threaten another genocide. Thank you all very much. Thank you.